Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to our webinar about how to run a paperless service department. We're excited to have you here today. Just a few quick notes before we begin. Today's webinar will be recorded and we'll send you a link to the recording within about 24 hours afterwards. If you'd like a copy of the slide deck, feel free to reach out to your account manager or you can email us at sales@ids-astra.com. During the presentation, if you have any questions, please use the Q&A window and we will address as many of them as we can as time allows. Anything we don't get to during this webinar will receive a follow-up response afterwards. And lastly, your feedback really does matter to us, so please take a moment to fill out the brief survey at the end of the webinar. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. My name is Allison Miller. I am a sales engineer here for IDS. I started in the RV world several years ago as a controller at a dealership in the Pacific Northwest. Helped the owner add an additional location built from the ground up. And then we sold the dealership and I stayed on as general manager with the new owners for some time before switching over to IDS. So excited to be here and to present to all of you. I am also very excited that I have a guest presenter today joining me. Matt Richards has worked in the retail side of the RV industry for over 20 years and has done just about every job in the dealership. He owned a dealership and sold it and then stayed on as a partner and worked as the GM of that original location before moving into roles as fixed ops director and then chief of operations for a 9-location dealership. He's leveraged IDS throughout his career to run those dealerships, and now as a member of the IDS team, he is thrilled to help other dealers do the same.
Thanks,
Yeah, you're welcome, Matt. Glad you're here. So what we're going to talk about today is really brief introduction of IDS just for anybody on the call who might be new to us. And then we're going to jump right into, why are we having a conversation about going paperless, what the benefits are, how you can accomplish it using IDS solutions, and we'll actually walk you through some of those examples as well. And then we'll have some time at the end for questions as they come up. IDS, we've been around for 30 plus years. We operate solely in the RV, marine, and trailer space. Fully integrated DMS, so we can manage all the departments of your dealership, all centralized around core accounting. We're a part of Constellation Software, which most importantly here has a buy and hold philosophy. And so even though we're part of a larger conglomerate of companies, very stable ownership structure, and we're in it for the long run. From a size standpoint, you can see here on the screen, we're all over North America. We've got a lot of users on our system, including on mobile and the core DMS, which we're going to show you different elements of all of that today. So first, let's talk about why go paperless? Why does this matter? Why are we having this conversation? So Matt, I'll take the first one. Let's save some trees. As a resident of the Pacific Northwest, I'm a self-described tree hugger. And so anytime we can reduce paper, that's a great thing for me.
Completely agree. There's a lot of other reasons, though, to do this. Next one I would say is to reduce the need to store all of that paper. We have files, we have custom files, we put them all in, and we don't need to do that. So
yeah, it takes up a lot of real estate, all those file cabinets. So I love this one as a former controller. Can't lose these electronic forms, right? Especially when we talk about parts requests. One of the biggest challenges is when they get lost, right? Or we don't know whose desk they're on. And by doing things electronically, we can form an audit trail, a more dependable audit trail.
Yeah, and then in addition to that, we're working off one source of truth because we're integrating all into the same system. We're not duplicating entries, and therefore we're going to be more accurate.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one for me is this allows us to measure and report on every step of the process, right? So areas of the dealership before that were difficult to identify, why is this taking so long? Now we can measure that and we can really identify where are our bottlenecks and even where are our performance issues.
We're also going to reduce the walk and talk. The technician having to move from his bay to the parts counter, sitting there chatting at the parts counter while he waits for somebody to look up a part number for him, all of that kind of thing. It adds up in a big way over the course of the day.
So Matt, you had an experience with that recently. You were out at a dealership, interviewing their team, talking to their team. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience there?
Yeah, we were out there with a prospect that was considering coming onto the system, and we were sitting there chatting, doing some discovery with their parts department, and a technician walked up and stood there for a few minutes, and we made a point of kind of stepping back and saying, hey, do you need to help that technician? And the technician made a point of saying, hey, no, I'm fine. Go ahead with your conversation. Proceeded to stand there for another 5 or so minutes before the parts associate felt satisfied with our talk and decided to go over and help him. So those kind of things just encourage not bad behavior, but not the behavior that we want. So
Yeah, really, it's just time that could be more productive if they were in their bay versus walking around waiting for the parts department or chatting along the way.
getting distracted.
Yeah, and then the last one is, we had a little fun with this, grow some green, right? At the end of the day, the reason why we're in business, the reason why most of the time why we show up to work is to make money, right? So we can support ourselves and our families. And as a dealership, we want to increase efficiencies. And so at the end of the day, all of these things lead to how do we improve the way we do things and ultimately improve our profitability. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how it's done. What we're going to walk through today is different elements of the IDS ecosystem that really solve some of the key paper problems. So Matt's going to walk us through different areas of the service workflow that are typically done on paper, and then we'll show you how they can be done using IDS solutions, things like Job Scheduler, Service Mobile app, our Parts Request Online, and eSign. All right, Matt, over to you.
So the process that we're going to go through is going to sound very familiar to all of you. Typically, we're going to start where you create typically your first piece of paper, which is when the customer shows up for a preset appointment and you have to do a customer intake. We've got some sort of paper form that we've all seen where we write the customer's name and their unit down on top of it, and then we go out with the customer with our roll of blue painter's tape, and we look at the jobs that they called us about, and then we also inevitably we end up adding jobs the customer's like, oh, and while it's here, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this. That's usually where we create our first piece of paper. So
go ahead. So starting with the appointment calendar, we are going to schedule that appointment for, in this case, we're going to say they called in the fridge won't light. So we're going to go ahead and schedule them. Our customer today is Miss Jen Murphy. If from this appointment, so once our customer arrives for that check-in, we're going to go ahead and convert that appointment to a work order. That's going to start the clock for our repair time, and it's also going to push this transaction over to the Service Mobile app so that we can continue the check-in process from the Service Mobile app. So now that we've got this work order, I can go ahead and move these things out of the way and navigate over here to Service Mobile.
This part of the process isn't going to change from what you've done. You're still going to walk out with the customer. You're still going to the service writer is going to view every problem that the customer has. Where we're going to change it now is the service writer is going to take out their tablet or their phone or whatever and get into the service mobile app, and they're going to be able to add job lines and make notes, take pictures rather than blue painter's tape, and do all of that right from the app. So we're going to eliminate the need to create that intake form that eventually the service writer has to then transcribe into the VMS to create a work order. So like for this example, say the customer comes in, they wanted the fridge, they said the fridge won't light, but while they're here, they're like, you know what, while it's in, let's pack the bearings. You know, that's a pretty common thing that we see. And so right here from the mobile app, we're going to be able to add custom jobs that we can just type in, or if we have canned jobs like this bearing pack that we do all the time, we can look those up and add them right to the work order from the mobile app. So we go through that process. We get the customer all checked in. We've taken our pictures and we've made our notes. We can now move back inside, or if we want to, we can have the customer e-sign right here on the tablet. So this is going to take this is going to take away the need to retain a piece of paper with the customer's e-signature. Our e-sign product is similar to DocuSign. It's a legal electronic signature. It's one of our partner companies, but you can take that signature right from the tablet. You can also email them for a signature. We'll show a little bit of that later on from the work order, so that they can approve all of the work or diagnostics at least of what we're about to do.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll add here is that we can take pictures from the work order level. So from here, we can use the camera icon in the top left-hand side of the screen to go ahead and take a photo. There we go. And then we can also take pictures from each individual job line. So as we're adding job lines, that customer shows up with a punch list of items, perhaps, then we can add those job lines and then click right into that individual job line and take pictures of the different repairs that are needed. So we'll do my coffee cup. There we go. And then all of these pictures are going to upload to the work order back in G2.
Yeah, and we'll show you a little bit more about the hierarchy of how all these documents and stuff stack up in the system. But for now, we'll move on to the next process, which is we now have to take that information or that write-up form, quote unquote, that we did, and we have to build a work order based on it. We've already created the work order, and in real time, everything that we've added through the mobile app, through our write-up form, so to speak, is actually just getting applied right to the work order directly. So we no longer have to take the time for the service writers to look at that piece of paper, type it into the work order, really just so that they can reprint that work order and send it out to a technician. So we eliminate any need for duplicate entry there, eliminating the potential for mistakes, as well as saving a lot of time. You can see here, if it was a can job that she selected, the labor and the parts required for that can job are automatically populated as required to finish this job on the work order. At this point within the process, our paper version of the process, we would move on to handing a technician a paper work order that they would then take out to their bay, possibly dropping in a puddle of antifreeze or losing altogether at some point, and they would start to work on that. So this is where we're going to replace that dispatching process of a paperwork order, and we're going to use the job scheduler and the Tech mobile app to do that. So what you're looking at here is the job scheduler. This would be the service writer's view. So everything on the left is all of the unscheduled work that we have. There to the right of all the unscheduled work is my technicians, and they're stacked here by their availability. So the least available technician is on the bottom, the most available technician is on the top. At that point, I can start scheduling labor, and I can do it a couple ways. I can drag individual job lines. So the work is stacked by work order, by job line, and then even by labor line. So I can assign specific labor lines to different technicians if I'm going to have more than one technician on a job, I can assign an entire job to a technician, or I can pull an entire work order over to a technician. I can drop it on the technician's name, which will simply put it in queue in the next available slot. So wherever they have open, that's where it's going to drop. Or if I know that I need to schedule this for a specific time, say it's a delivery and we need to do a hitch at this specific time, I can drop it onto the calendar and it will put a fixed start time on that job, and it will automatically push back all of the other work, all of the other floating work on the calendar accordingly. So there's no need to move or reschedule other jobs. Also on this calendar, you can see the grayed out areas at the bottom, lunch in the middle. It will automatically roll over jobs that don't complete by the end of the day. So there's not going to ever be a reason where you need to drag or move a job to reschedule it. It's going to do that on its own. Now, the technicians are going to interact with the work order through the mobile app, just like the service writer did when they were doing the intake through the technician view. So what you're looking at here is a view of the work orders assigned to a technician. They can also see all of the other work orders that have been assigned out. If you ever wanted to have another technician jump on a job, you don't actually have to move that job on the scheduler. They can see it here and just clock into it. But we'll go back to my jobs. We're going to see the stuff that was just assigned. The fridge won't light, our bearing pack. We can clock into the job right here, and we can begin to do our work on this job and diagnose it, or begin to gather a requisition of what parts we might need. We can put these jobs on hold for different reasons. We can pause the job if, for instance, we're just going to lunch or taking a break. We can put the job on hold for parts. If there's parts that are going to be needed, we can put it on hold for a sublet or for approval. What we can't do here is we cannot clock out of the job and complete it until we've put a cause for the complaint and a correction. So it forces the technicians to input their notes before they can say the job's complete.
So here within the edit screen, we have 3 different means for technicians to get their notes into the mobile app. Because we're on a mobile device, we can use talk to text, or I can use the keyboard, or you can set up pre-canned responses for things that you typically do or are really simple and don't require detailed notes. So just for the sake of ease for demo purposes, I'll use these pre-canned responses, but I could also just pull up my keyboard or even use the voice command feature on here as well. I'm just gonna say, I'll just say job complete here and save my notes. That is going to then open up the opportunity to say that I am done with this job. But of course, generally before I do that, I'm going to take additional pictures of the repairs that I've completed. And where's my RV? Here we go. As well as submit any part requests that I might need. Which brings us.
Yeah, typically that's where you create another piece of paper. Most of the time, the parts request is some sort of special order form, something that the technician fills out. He puts his notes about what he's looking for, brown piece of inside corner trim or whatever it is, puts his measurements of that part, but he doesn't know what the part number is, and in all likelihood we don't know what the part number is even within our system, especially if it's a manufacturer part, something that is specific to a specific model year or specific make of a unit that we're going to order once or twice in our lifetimes and we're never going to order again. So what happens from the time the technician knows I need this whoozy whatchit to finish a job, and we know what that who's what it is, how much it costs, and what the part number is. And that's where we jump into the parts request online with the technician.
Yeah, so one of our newer workflow solutions that we've added is this online part request option. It allows the technician to request a part right from the Service mobile app, and then for the parts department to manage all of those part requests from a web-based application. So I'll walk you through what that looks like here from the job. Now I've got a couple options. If I were to clock out hold for parts, the system would prompt me and say, do you want to request a part? Or I can just proactively go in and request a part from this job. So a part has to be requested from a specific job that I don't have to be clocked into, but I just have to be in the job so we know what it's for. And then this part type and subtype lists, these can actually be customized by your dealership. So we create kind of just a basic list. And really the purpose of these is just to make it so that it is easy for you to identify what it is that the technician is looking for. And then generally here, the technician's going to put a really good description of what they're looking for. And then they can add measurements if applicable, or even color. So let's see, they're looking for white. And then again, they're going to take photos of what it is that they need. Now, in the event that this is an appliance, oh, things are falling. There we go, smoky. In the event that this is an appliance, then the system's going to prompt them for like a make and a serial, even a serial number. So here I can add as many pictures as I need to. I've got a couple options down in the bottom right-hand corner. I can add more parts. That will start a new part request form. Or up at the top right-hand corner, I can hit that arrow, and that's going to take me to the review screen where I can review all the parts that I'm requesting and expand the view of that there, and then go ahead and submit it. So I am still clocked into this job. If I had done hold for parts, I would have submitted the part and it would have clocked me out of the job at that time. So I'm just going to go ahead and we'll change the status to hold for parts since I've got a pending part request. And then if I go back, I can go to the part request tab here within the main menu. And this is going to show me all the parts that I've requested and what the status is. So we've got the Service mobile app working with our IDS 360 application and G2 all integrated and syncing in real time. So I can see as a technician what part I've requested, and then I can also comment back and forth with the parts department about this. I can send them a comment, they can send me a comment, and the parts department can even return a request to me if I didn't provide enough information, for example. So then where this part request goes is to the part request feed. So as I mentioned, this is part of our IDS 360 suite of products. This is a web-based product, but fully integrated back into G2. So we're not dealing with duplicate entry. We're capturing the information and then we're moving it around where it needs to be in order for it to be processed and managed. So up at the top of the screen, you can see part request 358 is pending for our customer, Jen Murphy. So as a parts department, my responsibility is at this point, this is the equivalent of the technician has filled out a piece of paper requesting a part and they've handed it to me. Well, that handoff now is I'm going to receive this electronic form. I can be notified of this new part request using Service CRM. We're not going to drill into the details of Service CRM today, but it is a companion product to the parts request online. And it can alert the fact that a new part request has been created, for example. And it's also how we're going to notify our service advisors when they need to approve it. So as a parts person, I'm going to do my P&A process. I can open up this part request. I'm going to identify the part number. So this is going to search our part file. So I can search by description or by part number. So I'm going to identify what we need. Once we do that, the system's going to show me how many I have on hand, where they're located, and then I can even see if I have them at other locations as well. It'll bring on in price based on bill type. And then as I continue to scroll down, I can see all the information that was provided as well as those pictures. And then I can comment back to my technician. They'll get a notification through their service mobile app. They'll get a pop-up notification as long as those are enabled on their mobile device, saying that they've got a new comment. So from here, I've got a couple options. I can, let's say it's something like sealant, for example, that's below the threshold that requires service advisor approval. Then I might just pull that tube of sealant, bring it out to the technician, and mark this request as fulfilled. And that just kind of stops the process right there. I can also return it to the technician, and it'll require me to give a reason if I do that, so that I can advise the technician on what information they need to provide. Or if I want to continue this through the approvals process, then I'm just going to go ahead and submit it. What that's going to do is it's going to submit it over to the service advisor and notify them that we're waiting for approvals. The service advisor is then responsible for getting the necessary approvals and working with either warranty to get warranty approvals, reaching out to the customer if they need customer level approvals, or internally if they need approval from sales. And so this now goes to a pending approval status. And then this is configurable. So at this point, this part has also been added to the work order. So if I pull up G2, I can look at my parts tab here, and I can see that this sealant has been added as part request 358. So once that P&A is completed, the part is automatically added to the work order. We can also configure this so that the service advisor has to push the part onto it. So they would click a button saying add to work order instead of it happening automatically. If for some reason your dealership doesn't want it to go on automatically upon being submitted by the parts department. So then as a service advisor within Service CRM, I'm going to get a notification saying that this part requires approval. Okay, so in this case, it's an external customer. And so I'm going to go back to my work order. I'm either going to call my customer or text my customer and say, hey, here's what the cost is going to be now that we know what parts we need. And so I can use the CRM to initiate a phone call with my customer or text my customer, or within the work order, I can send a signing request, and this is going to send this document for e-signature. I can send this as many times as I want. So if I sent it initially based on our initial estimate from that walkthrough, then I'll see that existing one here, and then I can send it again. I can send this work order for e-sign based on required or estimated values or on our actual build values. So I may send this one more time at the end of the process as they're basically a copy of their final bill and what they're acknowledging to the work being complete. So we've got a couple different options with e-sign as well. I can click send and it'll automatically just send a copy of the work order to the customer with a signature line at the bottom. Or the current configuration that we have turned on right now, let me close this box, opens it up on my screen, pops it up on my screen. So if I'm the service advisor, and then allows me to add certain markups or tags to this form before I send it. So you'll see it's already got the signature box at the bottom, but maybe I want to call the customer's attention to something specific, where they're like, hey, what's new here? Okay, well, this is what's new. It's the sealant, right? Probably wouldn't require customer approval for this, but just as an example. Or I can add things like a form field if I need them to fill something in, a checkbox if I want them to acknowledge every single line item or maybe every single job subtotal, right? So I can edit this if I want, and then I can go ahead and send it to the customer. This is now, and then I just can close this window here telling me that I've sent it to the customer. That is now going to email the customer. They can click on it, sign that document, and send it back. And then once they sign that document, it's going to attach to the work order manager along with all those pictures we took throughout the process. So with that, that's our customer approval step. Oftentimes we're printing work orders and having the customer sign off on it and then having to file that work order somewhere. Now we can either from the tablet, when we do that final checkout, we can have them sign the work order right from there, or we can send it to them via email and have them sign off on it before they even come in for pickup. They may want to look at it first, but hypothetically we could do that. And then all those documents are going to attach to the document manager. So our signed work order isn't here yet because the customer hasn't signed it yet. I've only sent it. And then here's the pictures that I've taken throughout the demo. Notice the naming convention. This one just references the work order because I took it from the work order level, whereas these I took from individual jobs. And then this was a part request specific to a job. And so this will come in handy. I'll show you when accessing all these documents. So all the pictures we've taken, any e-sign documents we send are all going to attach to this work order. But in addition to that, if I double click on my customer number and I open up the customer record, then from here I can go to the doc manager and I can see every document that's been uploaded anywhere in the system for this customer. But I can take it one step further. I can use these filters over here and I can say, only show me things that are related to a specific work order. So there's my pictures that I took that were specific to that work order. Or here's an example of an e-sign document that got attached from a prior work order. So I no longer have to worry about keeping paper files. And in addition to that, I don't even have to keep electronic files on my computer of this documentation because it all rolls up to the customer level in the document manager. And then I can search and I can filter by transaction type. So is a signed document. If I want to see everything they've ever e-signed, Jen has e-signed an estimate before as well as a work order. All right, so let me close out of here and get back to, there we go, back to here. All right, so Matt, did I miss anything there?
No, and I think the whole point here is there's a lot of processes that there's a chance for failure when we're doing it on paper and we're working off multiple sources of truth. When we pull them all into one system and we take the repeated entry away, our accuracy goes up, our efficiency goes up. We don't have to worry about things like transposing technician notes that we can't read. Not everybody has the best handwriting in the world. Maybe it gets dropped in a puddle of oil. All of that, we're working off one source of truth and eliminating the potential for errors. Or not eliminating, but greatly reducing.
Yes, yeah, agreed. So the last component to all of this, when we talk about replacing all these paper forms, is we have the added ability to measure and report on some of these key metrics like we never have before. It's really difficult when you have a paper process for, let's say, requesting a part, for example. How do you know how long it took from when the technician filled it out to when the parts department processed it to when the advisor got it in their hands and got the necessary approvals? It's very difficult to track that. But when we digitize it, now we've got visibility into, we can measure every step of the process through those status changes as it goes through the workflow. So these are just a couple examples from Parts Request Online dashboard of different ways that we can measure and report on this data now. So on the left-hand side of the screen, what you're seeing is a breakdown of, I can set a date filter, and for that period of time, a breakdown of what parts are in what status. So I can just look at this and at a glance, see that I've got 10 parts that are pending approval or waiting for the service advisor to take action on it. This is a live dashboard within Parts Request Online, so I can actually click on that orange bar for pending approval and it will take me to those 10 related transactions. So I can really easily get to what I want to see here. And then over on the right-hand side, we've got kind of a counter going, right? So there's time to approve and time to submit. What we're looking at here is time to approve. So this is looking at for by service advisor. how long does it take them on average to approve a part request? So you can see how many they've completed and then what their average time is per part request. We do the same thing for time to submit, and that measures how long it takes from the time the parts department gets the part request to how long it takes them to submit it to the service advisor. So now we can really measure the different steps in the process. We also have, in addition to our like tech efficiency reports within the core G2 product, we also have a leadership insights page dedicated to technician tech efficiency. So we can see an individual technician's efficiency over a month. We can see them stack ranked. We can see kind of high level by location how tech efficiency is. So this is part of our Leadership Insights product. It's web-based, it's built on Power BI, and it just gives a higher level data visualization with some pretty good drill down capabilities as well, in addition to our standard reports within the core DMS.
Yeah. So our kind of point here is there's no reason for you to change your process just the way that you execute it. We're still going to go through all the normal steps of intake and dispatch and diagnostic and requesting of parts. We can't get around that. That's just the repair process, but we don't need to change that. We don't need to make major changes to the way our workflows are. We're just going to execute them differently and more efficiently. And then also, you can't manage what you can't measure. And we always like to say, if you can't manage it, you can't improve it. So those are really the core things that we're trying to get to here.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. So that brings us to the Q&A section. I haven't had any questions yet, but we do have a few minutes left. So if you have any questions, feel free to submit them to the questions box, and we'll keep an eye on that. And while we give everyone a minute to enter any questions that they have, I do always like to highlight our up and coming events. So this webinar is a part of a webinar series that I'm doing, and next month on Tuesday, June 18th, we're going to be talking about IDS Engage. IDS Engage is our email marketing platform that allows you to automate emails to your customers. We can trigger off of fields in the DMS. So we'll do a deep dive on that next month and make sure that you're really making the most out of that the Engage platform for email automation. And then next week, we have our second Dealership Insights Forum. So if you missed the first one, this is a monthly online discussion amongst dealers. And every month they pick a different topic to talk about some different pain points within the industry, share best practices, and hopefully ultimately drive solutions. So next Friday, May 24th, will be that Dealership Insights Forum. I've got links in the deck here too, or you can always just reach out to your account manager. Speaking of which, if you have any questions or want to follow up with more information, want to see a more in-depth demo of any of the solutions we talked about today, reach out to your account manager. If you are not a current IDS customer, you can reach out to sales@ids-astra.com, and either Matt or one of our other account execs will reach out to you. With that, I just want to thank everyone for attending, and I especially want to thank Matt for joining me today. Oh, question just came in. How can the parts department communicate RMA or RGA for incorrect parts that are on reorder? Whew, that's a deep one. Matt, I would suggest that might be a longer conversation than.
Yeah, I think there's a couple different ways that can be solutioned. If we have the email of the person who asked that question, I think that would be something that I can respond to.
Dan, we'll reach out to you. We'll follow up with you afterwards.
There's definitely a couple different ways to solution that, but it can be done within.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Great question. Thank you to everyone who joined. Thank you to Matt for joining me. And we hope to see you on future events. Please do take a few minutes to respond to the, I think it's 4 or 5 questions that will come up when you exit the webinar. And I hope to see you all next time.